What S3X was really like in medieval times, you wouldn't survive it, boring history for sleep. Hello, dear soul. Let the day fall away now. Feel the weight of your thoughts beginning to float like dust in a sunbeam. Let your shoulders soften. Let the air around you slow, cool. You are here now, and you are safe. There is nothing to do, and nowhere to be. Listen to the hush between the words, the rhythm of your own gentle breathing. Allow it to soften, to fall into the rhythm of this story. You're invited now into a story both curious and quiet. One that tiptoes through the flickering candlelight of long-forgotten chambers. So lie back, let your limbs grow heavy, and let the edges of the day dissolve. Inhale. Exhale. And let yourself drift. Because our story tonight sets sail at the edge of time. In a village you've never seen before, where cobbled streets were slick with rain. And the scent of bread, wool, and wood smoke wrapped around every breath. The Middle Ages. A time of mystery, reverence, restriction, and beneath it all, instinct. A time when pleasure was whispered about, cloaked in sin. When desire wore a veil, and the body was bound by church and custom. This is not a tale of scandal, but a slow unraveling of how intimacy was lived, controlled, feared, and fumbled through. What S3X was really like in the medieval era. And why, dear listener, you likely wouldn't survive it. But don't worry, this journey is gentle. And we shall walk it with soft words and quiet candlelight. Our story begins in the year 1247. In the region of Aquitaine, where forests grow thick and the nights come early. Imagine. You are lying on a straw-stuffed mattress, the scent of hay and damp stone around you. A rush mat beneath your feet, timber beams overhead. Outside, the hoot of an owl drifts through the night air. And within the walls of a small wooden house, two bodies stir. But there is no candle. For light was a luxury. As was privacy. In the medieval world, S3X was not romantic. It was practical, perfunctory, timed to the cycles of the church and the season. And yet, in this dim room, two people still reach for one another. They do not speak of love. They speak of heirs. Of duty. Of silence. In noble houses, S3X was scheduled. Times when it was permitted by the church, and times when it was strictly forbidden. No intimacy on Sundays, nor during Lent, nor Advent. No union when the moon was full, or the body bled. And if one died in childbirth? The husband remarried before the candle burned down halfway. You see, desire was not yours. It belonged to the church. To the whispers of sin. To the ledger of confession. But let us not rush. Let's return to the village. Can you hear it? The hush of distant sheep. The crackle of a hearth across the street. The faint clatter of a pail being hung beside a well. Let those sounds rock you gently. Like the slow swaying of a ship on the sea of time. Now, drift further. Step into a castle keep. Stone walls thick with moisture, heavy with incense. You are now in the chamber of a noblewoman. Her linen shift clings to her body. Her maid brushes her hair with wooden combs carved with doves. She knows. She has been summoned. Because in noble courts, S3X was duty. And marriage was strategy. Children were alliances. Desire was irrelevant. And passion, a distraction. Husbands often took lovers, handmaids, laundresses, widows of war. Their wives remained cloistered, saintly, untouched for months on end. But the people did speak. In taverns, and behind church pews. They spoke of aphrodisiacs. Of cinnamon boiled in wine. Of saffron steeped in goat's milk. Of a charm, worn beneath the tongue, to make the heart yearn. They believed that a man who dreamed of fish had been touched by Venus. That a woman who stepped barefoot over a spring could stir her own longing. Strange, isn't it? That even under the weight of superstition and shame, the body still remembered how to ache. Let's stay in that thought. Let it settle into your chest. Feel your breathing ease. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. The breath is your anchor. And the story is your vessel. Now, we drift toward the monastery, where young scribes pen laws about chastity, even as they steal glances at the baker's daughter each dawn. Where monks write about the sin of Onan with trembling hands. And women are taught that to feel is to fall. In the records of the time, we see confessions, not of murder, but of carnal knowledge. Priests writing scrolls about nocturnal emissions. And whether a dream could be a sin. There were penalties. For touching. For thoughts. For lingering too long beside the wrong person at a festival. In some towns, men were fined for bedding their wives too often. Women could be accused of witchcraft for using herbs that stirred desire. You ask, how did they even learn? There were no books. No guides. Only rumors. Some believed that if a man wore a snake's skin, his lust would grow. That drinking wine stirred passion in women. That bathing together was scandalous. And yet, the brothels still thrived. The midwives still whispered. And behind every stable, or mill, or lantern-lit barn, there was discovery. Awkward. Frightened. Curious. Because even in the Middle Ages, the human heart still pulsed. The body still longed. Even if it was punished for it. Let that settle now. Feel your limbs grow heavier. Let the hush of the story lull you. The medieval world was not all grim. In some corners. In warmer climates. Among the moors of Al-Andalus. There were poets who wrote of passion with elegance and courage. Verses that praised the scent of skin, the curve of a smile. Lovers met in citrus groves beneath stars. They composed love letters in calligraphy inked with rose water. Even among the strictures of religion, there were pockets of sensuality. Of affection. Of wonder. Can you smell the oranges in the breeze? The musk of oil lamps? The coolness of marble beneath bare feet? Yes. Let yourself go there. Sleep is close now. But before it takes you, let me whisper one last image. A peasant woman, sitting by the fire, braiding her daughter's hair. She speaks of marriage, and prayers, and how to endure. Her words are soft. But her eyes, remember. She once danced at the midsummer feast. She once wore a red ribbon under her skirts. She once kissed a boy beside the barley field. And though time moved on, though the church watched, and laws forbade, the memory of warmth, of touch, still flickered. Like an ember beneath ash. Let yourself rest there now. At the edge of that flicker. In a world where history hums, not roars. Where even the awkward, painful past, can rock you to sleep. You are safe. You are soft. You are held. Let your dreams carry you where the story cannot. Good night, dear one. Good night. Sleep comes slowly, softly. Like fog curling along the thatched rooftops of a forgotten village. Let yourself drift again, deeper now. Wrapped in linen and time. We return once more. To the stillness of a medieval bedroom. Not the chamber of a nobleman this time. But a one-room cottage shared by 6 souls. A mother and father, 2 children, and the old aunt who sleeps with her rosary. In this space, there is no door between sleep and desire. No privacy. Only the muffled rustling of straw, and the quiet turning away. And yet, life goes on. Children are born. Hearts whisper, even if mouths do not. Because in the Middle Ages, S3X was not spoken of, but it was everywhere. In the jokes of tavern minstrels. In the carvings tucked under cathedral eaves, yes, even there. Little stone figures locked in embrace, hidden above the holy arches. The masons knew. They whispered with their hands, while their tools clinked beneath stained glass. There were love potions sold in back alleys. Blends of crushed rosehips, mint, and ash. Supposed to make a woman swoon, or a man last longer. There were charms stitched into undergarments. Talismans to prevent unwanted pregnancy, long before midwives had herbs. But the truth? Most didn't know what their bodies could do. Girls were married by 14, often to men twice their age. Boys learned from gossip, not guidance. And the idea of consent? It wasn't even a word yet. Even noble women, with veils draped like waterfalls down their backs, were bartered into unions for land, for title, for alliance. Their wedding nights were not quiet. No, they were witnessed. Sometimes by a bishop. Sometimes by servants. Sometimes by silence. Imagine that. A night that is meant to be yours. Fractured by formality. Observed like ritual. Then sealed with a prayer. And yet, not all was darkness. Let's wander into a quieter room now. A candlelit scriptorium in York. Here, a learned abbess dips her quill into ink made of oak gall and wine. She copies a medical text. One written by a woman centuries before, Hildegard of Bingen. Yes. A woman wrote of the female body. Of pleasure. Of power. She knew, even then, that to be alive was to feel. And while much was lost to fire and fear, some of it still survives. Tiny scrolls. Notes scrawled in Latin. Even poems, hidden in margins, of longing. A nun once wrote, "My soul yearns for his touch, not of Christ, but of the baker's boy, with flour on his hands." Do you feel it? The heartbeat under the stone. The ache between the hymns. Even in convents, there was laughter. Even in monasteries, there were dreams. The body is not easily tamed. Not by vows. Not by veils. Let that thought rock you. Like a lullaby sung by someone who once believed the world was flat. And yet knew what it was to hold another close. The bells ring now in the distance. Matins. The first prayers of the day. Let them ring soft in your mind. Distant, like wind chimes in fog. We now drift to Florence. Year 1342. In the home of a merchant. A wife lies beneath a canopy of green velvet. She wears a belt of chastity. Not iron, no. That was more myth than fact. Her belt is made of fabric, knotted and blessed by a priest. Her husband, jealous of other eyes, insisted. He leaves for Venice. And she lies awake, alone, for months. Some women obeyed. Others, unaided. There are stories. Of keys stolen. Of candles used as heat to melt wax seals. Of mirrors tilted just so, to watch the street for a lover's arrival. Because even in a world of control, longing found a way. Like water beneath ice. It moves. Quiet, but constant. And what of protection? Of life not yet begun? Ah. There were many theories. Some believed drinking goose fat could prevent pregnancy. Others swore by jumping backward 9 times after the act. Still others used wool soaked in vinegar, inserted like a charm. There were no guarantees. Only whispers, and wild attempts. Some women bore 10 children. Others none. Some died in labor. Others lived to see grandchildren chase hens in the yard. Childbirth was holy. And horrifying. Midwives prayed as much as they pressed. And if a child was born too soon, they said it was cursed. Or fate-touched. Still, they loved. They rocked their babes by firelight. They sang them to sleep. They buried too many, but remembered all. Now let us slow again. Inhale. Hold. And let it go. Feel how quiet the room has become. The tail winding through your breath. Soft, steady, slow. Let me take you to one last place, for tonight. To a fair, on the edge of summer. The year is 1389. The village green is dotted with tents and laughter. There is dancing. Flute music. Roasted apples on sticks. And behind one curtain, a storyteller speaks. Not unlike me. She tells of lovers cursed by moonlight. Of nights undone by kisses. Of maidens who weep for days, but still rise to dance. Children listen wide-eyed. Old women smile, knowing more than they say. And in that moment, S3X is not shameful. It is story. It is life. It is human. The storyteller lowers her voice. She says, what we long for, is not sin. It is reminder. That we are alive. That we can still feel. And then she blows out the candle. And the hush that follows is soft as sleep. Let that hush surround you now. No more history for tonight. No more facts. Only the hum of imagination. The glow of an unseen lantern. The comfort of curiosity safely sated. You are warm. You are safe. You are enough. Let the past rest. Let your thoughts dissolve. And sleep. 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 Let the stillness settle once more. The night is deeper now. Even the stars above the cathedral spires seem to flicker more slowly. Sink further into your breath. Feel your fingers soften. Feel your spine melt a little more into where you rest. You've journeyed far already. Through quiet monasteries, rain-kissed cottages. Noble chambers lit by trembling candlelight. Now, let the story guide you gently across the last edge of sleep. Our final path is through the human heart. The secret one. The one no parchment recorded. No bishop catalogued. But that beat, all the same. Let's begin. In a village square, under a harvest moon. A group of young women gather by the well. They pretend to draw water. But really, they are whispering. One leans close to the other and murmurs. He touched my hand when he passed me bread. Another sighs. My mother says I'll marry the tanner's son by year's end. I've never even seen his eyes. They do not say, love. They do not say, desire. But they feel it in their cheeks, flushed like apples. In their hands, nervously smoothing aprons. In their dreams. They've never read poetry. Never heard of passion. But they know. That when he walks by, the world bends slightly. And that, is enough. Even in the Middle Ages. Emotion was alive. Even if they had no words for it. Now let's follow one of these young women. To a secret place. Through a wooden gate, behind the chapel ruins. Past the elderberry shrubs. To where the old stones are worn smooth by time. Here, she meets him. Not her husband. Not her betrothed. Just someone who saw her. Really saw her. There is no bed. Only moss, and moonlight, and the warm hush of August night. Their hands touch. Clumsy. New. Not because it is wrong, but because it is real. There is no music. Only the wind. Only breath. Their eyes meet. And the fear melts into something else. Stillness. Heat. A moment they will both carry for years. And though they return to their separate lives. He to war. She to the tanner's son. That night is folded into them like a letter under a tunic. Unseen. But never forgotten. Let your mind rest there a while. In that hidden grove. In the softness of their first touch. Breathe in. Breathe out. As if the moss were beneath you. As if the moon still watched above. Time folds, like linen in a trunk. And here, in this dream, you can slip between the folds. You can witness what history never wrote. The gentle rebellion of longing. The sacredness of stolen joy. Now, let's drift into one last chapter. The bathhouse. Yes. Though rare, some towns had them. Communal, warm, and surprisingly lively. Imagine the steam rising like mist from a hot spring. The air heavy with rosemary and damp laughter. Women washing one another's hair. Men exchanging gossip over scraped backs. Here was a sliver of permission. Sometimes, a man and wife would bathe together. Sometimes, not. Sometimes lovers met in secret. Other times, strangers found each other's gaze through steam and silence. And in those fragile moments, touch was neither chore nor punishment. But warmth. Simple. Human. Soft. A servant might brush a lord's shoulder. A widow might close her eyes and remember what skin once felt like. No sin. No scripture. Just water. Let that warmth rise through your chest. Imagine the steam on your face. The hum of voices just beyond the curtain. The feeling of your own hands, softening in the heat. Even here, in medieval life, there was sanctuary. And what of the other side of desire? The painful side. The forced side. Yes, that existed too. Marriages not chosen. Nights not welcomed. Children born of silence, and sorrow. We cannot forget them. We must not. Because to tell the truth of history, we must carry all of it. And so, in the hush of this story, we light a candle for those who could not choose. Who were given to others as if they were land. Who endured. Let that candle flicker gently now. Not to wake you, but to remind you that every soul who walked before you carried some version of hope. Even if only whispered. Even if buried under fear. They hoped. For freedom. For warmth. For more. Now, let's return one last time. To the edge of a forest. To a traveler's camp. A bard sings low by the fire. His song is not about war. Not about kings. But about two peasants who found one another in a field. And danced. And laughed. And stayed through the storm. The fire crackles. The audience listens. They've heard this story before. But they ask for it again. Because beneath the cold, hard cobblestones of history, there is always a tale about the warmth of two people finding each other. Even just once. Even if it couldn't last. That is what S3X was, too. Not just function. But longing. Fumbling. Fleeting comfort. Even in an age of silence. So now, as you lie in your bed, as your breath grows even, and the world behind your eyes turns quiet, let these stories rest in you. Not for excitement. Not for curiosity. But as a reminder That for all their rigid rules and fearful punishments. The people of the past were like you. They ached. They reached. They wondered. They lived in bodies that sometimes didn't make sense. And in hearts that always did. So drift now. Let the echoes fade. Let the candle burn low. You have walked through centuries tonight. Seen truths hidden beneath veils. Heard confessions that time forgot. And now. You sleep. Let the moss return beneath your feet. Let the moonlight wrap around your thoughts. Let the steam, the hush, the gentle breath of those who came before you cradle you. You are safe. You are soft. You are here. And the past can rest now. So can you. Good night. Sweet dreams. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.